to lead us in the bottom left, our first hybrid player in StarCraft 2 from Team Basilisk. It's the Italian stallion. It's Reynor. And it might be his year. And he is the captain. Friends, family, fellow creatures of the sea, I introduce to you from Team Shopify, the Dutchman. It's Harstem. Protoss versus Zerg. These players know each other inside and out. I'll leave that where it lies. But I think Harstem against his teammate Scarlet. Ah, yes, starting off the day, as is customary, by lowering the Terran music so it doesn't break my eardrums. Harstem kind of crushed Scarlet. Scarlet off to a good start, but Harstem showed that Reynor style of Protoss. Now, which begs the question of whose style it truly is. Of Immortal Archon Templar. And just dismantled the Lurkers. And essentially negated, alright, the Broodlords. We're just going to take a quick break to contemplate life here. Ambient sounds are on. There's a bird on this map that goes by. I hear him too. Okay, this is part of why we turn ambient sound. You know what? I'm turning ambient sounds on so we can get the full experience. Oh my god. They're right. I mean, I didn't...
Game resumed.
Alright. Okay. I'm a professional. Harstem with the 1 gate expand. I expect nothing more and nothing less than the cookie cutter standard. Stargate into the treacles, the triple oracle. Reynor, a little more variety would not be the least bit surprising. Zergling timings, queen drops. Reynor is not a big fan of turtling to the late game, but instead trying to get the damage done early. Oh my god. Harstem pokes in. He sees the... Another thing about Harstem, he doesn't try to block the expansion. Every Protoss player, almost every Protoss player, for the last 10 years or so, maybe more. Honestly, it might be a Brood War thing. It could be 20 years. It could be older than Reynor himself. Has tried to block the expansion with probe. Just keeping the Zerg from getting the hatchery there. We've gone back and forth on it. It hasn't always been 100% of the time, but Harstem very rarely goes for that early probe block. Instead, getting you a little bit more economy by keeping all his probes at home, not worrying too much about what the Zerg is doing, but worrying about more himself. Now, Adept shades in. Just takes a look around, scouting Adept. What he's trying to do is, if possible, get a beat on the drone count. Keep track of the queens. It's going to be Phoenix first. Ooh. Phoenix first to kick things off. A little different here. Knocks out the Overlord. And potentially covers for a third or even some tech behind. It's going to be an Oracle right behind it. So, not going with the mass Phoenix style. Just wants to deny scouting. Overlord poked him, prodded away. Well, to death, eventually. You're getting slapped with a couple spoons until you just decide it's enough. And there you go. Like an overripe tomato. Speed is done now. For the Zerglings. Not that Reynor has particularly many of them. Just adding more and more drones. Harstem's already taken his third. Making sure that Adept is nice and cozy in behind the mineral lines. The Zerglings going through the W, the speed zone right there. Quite a curious thing on this map, mostly for air units. Wow. I mean, I guess it served its purpose. The probe sacrifice. They'll expect one of us in the wreckage, brother. Phoenix on the way across. Why is only the Terran music? So I don't get it. The Terran music is twice as loud as the others, but that's just like Terran players, so I guess it fits. Meanwhile, picks up the queen, but there are two more. That's enough of that. Get off my creep! Reynor, more than ready to deal with it. We have a Forge on the way. It's going to be that later game tech yet again. And by that I mean double Stargate Phoenix into... No, I take it back. I saw the Forge. I'll admit my mistakes. I'll admit I was wrong. I thought he was going to go into the +2 blank, but then I saw a Stargate next to it and realized I was indeed blind. Double Stargate Phoenix. Reynor used this just recently against Scarlet at Home Story Cup to great success. The Mass Phoenix style has so much potential, but is also a very APM intensive one as well. If you're not using the Phoenixes constantly, once they're revealed, as soon as they're revealed, you need to be doing damage. But Harstem is holding on to him, he's hiding them. So, going to wait until the last possible moment in order to reveal... Oh, the Depth Shades! Well... that was not ideal for the Adepts there. Reynor's now at 70 drones. He's about to be at 80 drones, which the Phoenixes can pick up and knock out another dozen of them or so, but... Well, here come the Phoenixes. How many queens on the field? 7 of them. There's no other real anti-air. The Overlords are kind of vulnerable. Not that that's a huge weakness, but it definitely is something. Phoenixes go to work. Oracles there as well. So this is a moderate to severe inconvenience for Reynor. We'll just be making some... Oh, doesn't even get the spores underneath. The Phoenixes continuing to go to work. 4 rounds, some Overlords so far. Plenty of them, though, still. Reynor's not even close to supply block. Phoenixes... I mean... reign supreme, but there's so many... Oddly, the counter to Phoenixes is Zerglings. As you're simply... You can pick up Zerglings, but it feels like a waste of your talents as a Phoenix overall. So it creates an awkward scenario where you may technically have the ability to deal with it, but you really want essentially anything else to deal with the Zerglings more proportionately. +1 ground weapons. Archon's on the way. We've got a Spire as well as a Hive in production simultaneously, which tells quite a story. Broodlords, potentially? Against this Mass Phoenix, just Corruptors into Vipers and a ground army might be the ticket. Harstem has taken out 5 Overlords thus far. And, of course, another benefit of having these Phoenixes out on the field. Constant scouting of the entire base. Unfortunately, he hasn't made full use of it, which means he doesn't see the Spire behind the mineral line. It isn't the sort of surprise strategy that it would usually be in the earlier game, of course. It's not going to be Mutas, but having 12, 15 Corruptors show up when you're relying on Phoenixes for anti-air is certainly a potential for disaster. Harstem, though, comfortably getting to 4 bases. He's used those Phoenixes to carve out plenty of space on the map, and Reynor has not bothered trying to challenge them. Instead, well, is he gonna... are the Queens walk... Is it time for the Great March of the Queens? Always an exciting moment. Ravagers and Banelings. Baneling speed, Adrenal Glands, Greater Spire? Make those Spires great again, says Reynor. Going straight up towards potentially Broodlords. The Phoenixes taking a look around. The Queens taking offense to that. Storm on the way. We're just setting everything up here. More Evo chambers. I'm not sure if that's to wall off or to upgrade. Por qué no los dos? Immortal, Archon, charge lot. Storm is done. Harstem has that sort of complex army, but Reynor has a whole lot of Zerg. Here we go. Dodges out of the storm preemptively. The creep spread is denying additional expansions. The stasis is almost a wall. Harstem quite prepared. Watch out! Oh. Corrosive Bile knocks down an Oracle. Bit of an unforced error there. Another stasis. Now, it doesn't kill the Zerglings, but of course, it does lock them down for long enough to come up with a response. A hard wall, a couple of units. I think he's setting it up to maximize a potential stasis there as well. Yeah, the Zerglings not finding any success around the map here. Harstem has locked it down. But he isn't going for the carriers. Instead, he's all about this ground army. Another stasis. He's stalling it out. But what does the late game army composition look like for Harstem here? Immortal Archon charge lot with plenty of Templar. Reynor only matching him on the ground. 5 Broodlords on the way. Storms hitting the Phoenixes and the Zerg alike. A hard wall of gateways. But it looks like Reynor's looking to go right through it. The Immortal Archon, +2 upgrades. Working on 3-1. Fleet Beacon on the way. +1 air weapons as well. A stasis! Oh my god! Oh, beautiful stasis. Now, that does create a bit of an awkward scenario with that many banelings potentially coming out of it. But he's going to have the storms ready. He hit every single baneling. The Archons. Oh my god, the anticipation. He's gonna... Yeah, there's the storm. Wow! The bomb has been defused. Reynor loses 25 or so banelings. They don't really show up here because technically many of them attacked. But... beautifully done. Harstem. Playing some of the best Protoss I've ever seen since Reynor played a very similar style of Protoss. Just in the last few weeks. Ultralisk Cavern, the Broodlords. Have the Broodlords been revealed yet? I believe they will be now, as Reynor has totaled up himself. It's kind of a battle brood here. Not enough Broodlords to make the army unwieldy, but enough to definitely force the Archons back and prompt a direct response. Harstem never got Blink. There are a handful of Corruptors in here. The probes are in a bit of an awkward scenario, long-distance mining. 85 to 84 workers, even losing a few is Harstem. Trying to go through the rocks in the center, draw those Broodlords out of position. You don't want to leave the Broodlords alone. They need the Queens underneath. They need some support. They need a helping hand and a pat on the shoulder. Maybe something to cry on, but if they have that, they can be devastating. Corrosive Bot knocks out the battery overcharge. Breaks out of the base. And will escape for now. 14 probes down. Harstem starting to suffer the whole position, but all his probes are going right through it. Down to 71. Honestly, that might be a good thing. He doesn't need this many probes. He needs as much army supply as possible. The feudalism that Reynor is bringing to the table, the queens and the lords together, posing an imminent threat to Harstem's ability to stay out on the map. But the storms could be devastating here. On top of everything, feedbacks onto the queens, and the Tempest from downtown starting to shell the the Broodlords are falling apart. The queens are all dead. The monarchy has been ripped apart by the Psy Storm and everything underneath. And the Broodlords, most of them survive, but they can't press forward against this. They will melt through some more zealots. Harstem starting to take more and more damage, though, as Reynor is ripping down the defenses. The Immortal count. He's got 8 Immortals, 8 High Templar, there's 6 Tempests, and now a Mothership is on the way. Ultralisk, Vipers, +3 attack. Reynor putting it all together here. The southern base, Ultralisk speed is on the way. He already has Kindness Blade. Yeah, he's good to go. Harstem, those zealots on the edges. How many observers? He has 2 observers. Ideally, be clearing more of this creep. That's the one thing we have missing here. Yes, I bring up the APM as Reynor will be clearing creep with zealots right now. It is hard to keep up on all sides of this without losing track of your main army composition. You cannot afford to lose this core army. He hasn't lost a single Immortal, making them an accurate terminology. Okay, well... it keeps it alive. Though a bit bruised. More Zerglings, the Ultralisks! But the Mothership! He does take out the base, not sure if it was cancelled. It does matter at this stage. Reynor has so much money in the bank. Harstem can't even afford to rebuild the Nexus. But Reynor does have to beat this army somehow. He has now 2 Vipers, no Infestors, only 3 Queens. So this is a capable force. The Mothership feedback on the Viper. Oh, so important here. The Tempest able to take out one more Broodlord. That feedback's such a big deal. Broodling's unable to take it out. Gets a Revelation. Tags the Viper, the most important unit of this army composition. Uses the active cloaking. Meanwhile, the Ultralists are trying to break through. The vanguard of cannons here to stall things out. It's not going to be enough to stop it. Oh, look at the other way. Loses a couple Tempests. Oh, those are important. Meanwhile, God, this filing through. It's a one-lane road. But the Ultras will pull back. Reynor building up a larger and larger bank while Harstem is unable to really make progress. He's held the line, but he has been struggling to push it back at all. Another army. The Ultralists chewing up some probes. Harstem is maxed out. It's such a deadly Protoss army. But the Corruptor count and upgrades are growing. Doesn't quite get the Oracle. Small wins, but I'm sure Harstem will take them. Better than no wins at all. +2 air weapons. +3 flyer attack, though, for Reynor. Air weapons finishing. Not sure the breakpoints on the Tempest versus Corruptors and Broodlords, but it certainly doesn't hurt. The Broodlords! The Broodlords! The Corruptors are waiting. Ooh, Tectonic Destabilizer's helping out. He gets one of the Vipers! Those Vipers are the most important units right now. Without the Vipers, the Mothership actually has a lot of utility. With the Vipers, the Mothership could be deleted almost instantly. Meanwhile, another army attempted over here, but it looks like Harstem was... He killed 4 Ultras! Off screen here. Alright, not even credited. But those Immortals just blasting through. Unfortunately, still no detection. Harstem really can't afford to give up another base. He's been locked down on 4 bases for too long. He needs this Nexus. Reynor, so much money in the bank. Getting a full surround onto the Archons. The Zerglings will rip him apart. The Immortals. Harstem refilling his supply instantly. But that's all the money he has. He has to split off some units to deal with this. That one Ultra helping out a lot. Depowers the remaining cannons. Has to bring some units back. Reynor knows this. His Broodlords are waiting for an opportunity to take advantage of it. The Broodlords onto the Nexus. The Tempest nowhere to be seen. Raining down the Broodlings and chewing through the Nexus, and it won't see the light of day. Reynor just boxing out Harstem. It feels like Harstem a quarter step behind here. And it's continuing to cost him ever so much. He hasn't lost that much, 3,000 more gas, actually. Reynor has been wielding these Ultras and Lings, keeping him busy. Another army is forced to pull back. The creep is at his doorstep. +2 flyer Carapace here for Reynor. But he's still mining pretty comfortably. Reynor has had the income lead for the entirety of the last 10 minutes. The Sporist zoning things out towards the center. Single Zealot. +3/+3 with +1 shields. The first Infestors are spotted. Harstem trying to retake that center Nexus. He's still maxed out. And his army supply is very dangerous. What is it comprised of? We have 8 Immortals, 9 Archons, 7 Tempests. That number could change. Oh, he gets a feedback on a Viper, on another Viper. There are only 2 Vipers. That's all the Vipers. Loses an Observer awkwardly. 2 more in production. Meanwhile, the Brave Probe starting to clear this up. Reynor is maxed out with nowhere to go. He's got Neural Parasite for the Infestors. 5 Infestors as well. More Ultras on the way. The bank still continues to be the prevailing issue for Harstem. But he's played so... He's trying to goad Reynor into one of those fights that Zerg just never recovers from. Doesn't matter how much money in the bank if you can't rebuild your army in time. Harstem, there's a big difference between patient and passive. And certainly not a passive style here. But the Vipers have some energy back there. Go 2 Tempests. Tags. Again, loses the Oracle and 2 Tempests, though. A costly trade. Oh, he grabs the Tempest. Neural Parasite. Partially broken by the recall. Harstem has taken this base, which has a rich Vespene. It doesn't have more gas than your regular gas. It just mines it twice as quickly. So it's only 1 gas geyser of gas here. So not that huge of one at this stage of the game, considering Reynor has 6k in the bank. This army, he actually really needs Neural Parasite. Immortals are pretty great of a counter to Immortals. He doesn't quite kill. Oh no. With the Immortals on his side. Oh, this was a mistake. Oh, it's disaster. Well, as soon as whoever side the Immortals are on seem to be pretty strong. The Immortals, the real MVPs of this fight, actually almost gets the Ultras anyways. Harstem nearly wins that fight, even with his own Immortals beating his face in for most of it. Really showing how hard of a counter they are to the Ultras when they're able to focus on it. Had Harstem down to 155 supply, warping a round of Zealots. There's not quite enough energy for Storm, and there never will be. And Infestor on the back line. Archons. Some Immortals come down. But the Broodlords find another base. Maneuvering around. He knows the Corruptors are back there. Clearly. Oh, no. Yanks in the Oracles. Actually doesn't quite get one. Loses one more Tempest. Oh no, another yank. Harstem just a little off-center on it, but the active cloaking, he's just going for the mothership. But the Storm's underneath, he didn't know about the Templar. At least he didn't factor it in. Harstem refuses to die, but Reynor still has so much money in the bank. Reynor's taken out approximately his half the map. Harstem has been unable to get the base to the north, essentially untouched. The one over to the southeast, I don't think that Nexus has ever finished. He's tried it a couple times. The creep has been driven back somewhat. There's only 3 queens on the field. I think they're very overtaxed on injects. And Harstem still has enough army supply. He only has +2 flyer attack and no flyer armor. And he only has 5 Tempests and a mothership now, so I guess the Oracles count in some fashion. So, Harstem doing a whole lot of not dying. But winning, on the other hand, it's getting harder. That is keeping a strong ground army in place here. It's a small victory that he's forced Reynor to use Infestors and Vipers. Something he certainly doesn't love. Reynor much more of a throw a quantity of units. Maybe throw a couple Vipers in to dismantle the defenses, but using Infestor, Viper, Broodlord certainly doesn't suit his 600 APM style. It is just a much more methodical sort of gameplay than he prefers. The Broodlords again. But the Corruptors still lagging behind. Again sieging a base. Again Harstem forced to cancel. Another army. Headed north. Production tab empty. Huh. Oh no! Assimilation successful! The Immortals on the wrong side of the story for Harstem yet again! And the Immortals may decide the match. He can, well... I have no... Well, okay, he kills the observer with... I don't even know he saw the observer. Oh, the spore. Well, that is certainly unfortunate. So this just in. Immortals and Archons are pretty good against Immortals and Archons. An elementary mistake, but... it's so hard to keep track. And that's... what an unceremonious end. As Harstem forced him to bash his army into submission. And with nothing left, Reynor will take a bit of an anticlimactic ending to game 1. Wow. Well, what a way to start the day. Harstem hanging with Reynor throughout a 25-minute game, only to have his own units used against him. And that being the decisive advantage. It's just so hard to keep detection alongside your armies. All your detection as Protoss costs gas. It costs supply. You have, we're not counting cannons here, all right? You can't pack up cannons and slap them on an immortal or something. Though maybe you should be able to. Keeping those observers and those oracles nearby keeps them at risk. And when you start running out of money, it's not something that... well, Reynor exploiting that. I think Reynor knows both sides of this matchup better than essentially anyone at this stage. But Reynor is able to lock it down, playing a relatively careful late game. Not throwing everything away, but instead waiting for Harstem to come to him. And now game 2 is going to be on Golden Oro. Welcome back to the ESL SC2 Masters. These two, only one can survive. I believe it's a best of 5. Jimmy made a mistake here. Okay. We are playing a best of 5 series, if I'm not mistaken. Let's crunch the numbers. As Reynor. Okay, Reynor's back. We got him. Yes. Our mistake here. We get even more of these top European players. Here we go. Game 2. Settle in. In the top left, it is the captain. It's Harstem. And in the bottom right, claiming game 1 in a decisive fashion, the Italian Stallion, the sometimes Protoss, sometimes Zerg, all times incredible Reynor. What an epic game. I was very excited to get an opportunity to see these two, as they know each other so well. I do think Reynor clearly has... we're gonna do a hatch block, says Harstem. I do think Reynor has a significant edge. But there was a lot of potential there. The Phoenixes didn't get nearly as much done. It almost felt like a completely different game. Seeing the... remember there was Mass Phoenix like half an hour ago? Yeah, Harstem went for the Mass Phoenix, and it wasn't a failure. It wasn't as successful as you'd hope in slowing the Zerg down. If they already have 80 drones in a hive by the time your Phoenixes are coming across the map, feels like the window has already closed, and you're flying right into the shot one. That is those late game Phoenixes. Really? Probe, sir. Politely yet firmly asked to leave. Does not leave. Typical probe. Two hatches on the way. He's gonna go 2 hatches while mining with 3 in gas. He pulls off as soon... well, I guess he wanted to get his natural before the probe could block it. Harstem has not shown any tendency throughout this series, this tournament, or in general, of doing an early 2-base timing attack. He's all about that late game tech, building the right army for the job. And he did it again. He did it again last game. It was just Reynor was too fast, too furious. Maybe not that one, but... and he was able to dismantle it. But against essentially all but a single-digit number of players, that sort of Immortal, Archon, Templar, Tempest army is effectively unbeatable. Stargate first. First, Adept it on its way in to take a look around, throw some shade. Maybe, if he's feeling spicy, to commit. But the Zerglings pop out, cancels. Gets a bead on the gas, on the Queen, on the drones, and heads on home before any sort of Zerglings can rip it apart. Or, alternatively, joins up with its fellow Adept and maybe tries a bit of aggression. The fake Adept, or the fake unit into third. He may very well, if there are a bunch of Zerglings on the way, decide to complete the Zealot. But this is to fool the Overlord here. Because Reynor just sees something. He doesn't have the little icon. He finishes the Zealot. Well, that proves me wrong, I guess. He just goes for the Zealot. Haven't seen that one. I don't know if that's a mistake or not, because it will delay his third base slightly. But canceling and restarting the Zealot is usually a more common move. The Oracle comes in. Ah, yes, the customary 2 kills. Oh, 3 kills into permanent, unrepairable damage for the Oracle. This is one of my pet peeves. I have many pet peeves. We don't have enough time on this cast here today to list them all out, nor am I capable of doing so in a coherent fashion. But the come in, kill 3 drones, and then have a permanently damaged Oracle that will probably die the first time you lose track of it does not feel like it's usually worth it. But it is also a staple of the Zerg versus Protoss matchup. Occasionally, sometimes you kill 5 drones, and that's totally worth it though, right? Oh my god. It's not that dramatic. Calm down. The Protoss were just very excited to finally get decent music in Legacy of the Void. They went overboard. Twilight Forge. A more conventional follow-up. Not gonna be double star. Oh, the Oracles come in for another pass. These are 2 fresh ones here. 5 drones in total. And Reynor, in going for that third and having this many Zerglings out on the field, he's only at 50 drones right now, which is a bit of a precarious number. He's adding more and more with the lair, but some more Zerglings as well. Harstem may have baited Reynor into hamstringing his own economy. Especially if he's able to sit back. I mean, look at the worker count. Harstem has the lead. And the lair is in particular... Oh, no! No! Ah! I'm not going to say I told you so. But... a moment of silence for that bruised Oracle. Finished off by the Queens. Speaking of finished off by the Queens, it's going to be a German taxi build. Ah, yes, the chauffeurs are ready. And more overlords here to help deal with it. It's going to be charge as the response. But all the Queen... Brenda, get in the overlord! Shut up, Karen, I'm going. Oh. What is that light? Don't look at it. I don't... This reminds me of when I could fly. I don't... Shh, shh. We're almost there. Meanwhile, the lair is done. But there's a lot of units on the ground here. For both sides. Charge is on the way. Overlord's creeping. Queen's dropped out. Down goes another Oracle. But force fields are good. Corrosive Bow will break them, but he did isolate a lot of the army supply. +1 attack isn't quite done. Great battery overcharge. And it looks like Harstem is holding the line. Harstem spotted this early enough where you're gonna go. You can't go back into the Overlords. He's gonna, well, if with the Zerglings there to protect. There is no blink, remember. Gotta be very careful here. With those Stalkers, they cannot blink out of a Zergling surround. Well, Reynor only had 55 or so drones. He's adding more on, realizing this has not been the game-winning success, though the creep is directly on Harstem's front lawn right now. He does still have one Oracle. The queens, oh my god. They're not done. Ladies? And without Blink, it's very unlikely this will be stopped anytime. Oh, no. Oh, that's so annoying. Not particularly devastating. Where's the Oracle? Oh my god, it has to come back. Get the revelation. Sweeping the creep here. But Reynor, only 58 drones. This is a good spot for Harstem. There's no two ways about it. He's got +1 attack already. He's got a worker advantage. He's got the gateways already up alongside charge. And Storm is being researched. Reynor has these queens that he's messing around with here. Oh, trying to dodge the dropper lords. I don't know if they were quite spotted. He's not going to creep his main, right? 5 more gates on the way, but Harstem is handling this beautifully. Hallucinated Phoenix. Oh my, no, you do not. Ladies, it's time for revenge. Well, there's a shield battery, so I don't, oh my god. Meanwhile, he's attacking. This is a triple-pronged attack. Storm is done in 4, 3, 2, 1. He needs it now. He needs it yesterday. Where are the storms? He finally uses it. And it's all over the Ravagers. Big hits. The queen. This is still happening. He actually got some creep spread at the bait. Of course he did. Reynor finding surprising success at the natural. The storms not as devastating as they needed to be to drive Reynor all the way back. But here comes the Roach Ravager again. Chewing through. How many Templar left? Only 3. And only one of them has Storm energy. That's a lot of Roach Ravager. The Corrosive Bow is breaking through. He needs the storms. He's oh, no, watch out! Okay. Okay. All right. You're okay. You're okay. Well, that could have been devastating. This was a bit optimistic. Chunking up the Roach Ravager, but potentially exposing the Immortals. The Warper's on the other side. I thought he would threaten it was a Storm drop, but it was just Zealots. Of course, Reynor didn't know that. The Immortals, a great counter to all this. There aren't any Zerglings to kind of mitigate the Immortal fire. Another set of storms, and this army for Harstem is just better. Look at the supply right now. GG! Harstem with a beautiful defense, a surgical response. And those queens, well, they won't be coming back. Whoa, beautifully done by Harstem to tie the series up. Reynor with a cheeky queen drop timing. But Harstem got his gateway count. He did what a lot of Protoss struggle to do, which is time the gateways well. You get the gateways too early, and you're hurting your own economy. You're not going to have the tech. You get them too late, you just don't have enough units, you die. But the charge lots and +1 and the defensive setup were great. And Reynor felt almost like he was trolling him a little bit with the queen drop. But at the end of the day, we're going to be taking a 2-minute break. Well, I'm not taking a break, but I'm just saying we're not going to get into the next game for a couple more minutes. Because I want to talk... No, because one of them requested a break. Wow. I knew, especially the way Harstem played yesterday against Scarlet. Scarlet did not play poorly. But Harstem... he just so patient. And again, it paid off here. He wasn't quite able to do it in game 1 with that later game. Reynor just leaning on his 600 APM. It's almost impossible to keep up with that. Harstem nearly did it, but it wasn't enough. But game 2, Reynor gave him an opportunity to put together a defense, and he did it. Now, we're all tied up. All right. Statistically, this series should not be that close. Reynor has something like an 80% win rate historically against Harstem. But this new wave Protoss, charted by these two players, is certainly finding some success. The queen drop was a bit optimistic. For sure. Especially once he started sending the queens into the main. That was That was maybe a bit much, but that's Reynor's motto. Just want to point out, I don't know. We don't quite have the info yet. Of course, as all the matches are being played live, but the winner of this will face the winner of Oliveira versus a laser. So, potentially facing the world champion. It could be a rematch of Reynor versus Oliveira from the IM Katowice World Championships, or definitely not ruling out the option for the captain. We'll see, we'll see. We're going into Elchione. Reynor's ready. Harstem's ready. I'm ready. I hope you're ready. And we're getting started. All tied up. Reynor with 1, Harstem with 1. We're gonna break that. Loading in. The good luck, have fun meta. There. Not sure who comes out ahead is Harstem with an LHGF. That's a fresh one. I haven't seen that one before. The dyslexic GLHF. But in the top, right in the red, the Italian Stallion. It's Reynor. Playing the only 2 races that his namesake. Oh, he's going to the gold. Anyways, Reynor was Terran, and that's the only race he hasn't showed at tournaments. That's the joke we were getting at. Harstem not going for a probe scout. Not early on, not looking to block the base, or at least attempt to block the base, and then realize the base might not be where you expect it to. Reynor just goes straight for the gold, and Harstem, he isn't, wow, a very late scout. Well, he hasn't scouted at all. We're not ruling out that option, so. Yeah, Harstem just... One answer to dramatic and intense cheese is what Harstem did last game, which is just kind of go about your business and not panic. But the gold base does afford that extra boost of minerals with significantly less workers, which is especially important for Zerg, as that early larva is at a premium. Oh, he's scouting it. He knows. Oh, yeah. Harstem knows. The drones. A full drone transfer here. Yeah. Huh. And he just goes home. He knows that Reynor knows that it's been scouting. So, now we wait. What's it gonna be? Oh my god, it's a Stargate. Wow. Groundbreaking. But, Reynor takes down the rocks. Definitely more of a burden than a boon, those rocks there, against Protoss. Smart move. The Adept going to try to abuse them, but it looks like the Zerglings will be able to take it out in time. Already some creep on the way. The Adept. Yep. Already the Zerglings there. Third base. Second Adept at the awkward choke point here. The most dramatic watchtower that has been the source of so much strife and drama. What? He completes an Adept Shade? Is that a mistake? He will get out, but kind of surprising. Gets away with it for now. Here comes the Oracle. How many kills is it gonna be this time? Well, the Queen's moving into position in time. Ah, 1, 2. Yeah, it gets 3. for the low, low price of permanent damage. I think it's more worth it here. I think those 3 drones on the gold base are more valuable than 3 on the blue. Okay? But still kind of painful. And the Zerglings, Harstem gets out with one of the Adepts for now. Oracle here to protect the official escort. Reynor doesn't care. He does. He does. He moves along. The Oracle bodyguard. And third base. For Harstem. Not gonna try some sort of crazy all-in. He just kind of slightly adapted the early game. And even that is arguable. Instead, you come to me. Harstem has 42 probes. About to be equal on drones, but Reynor built some extra Zerglings to make sure he wasn't vulnerable at his gold base. And while he might have... you know what? The income, the numbers don't lie. Okay? That gold base only just now seeming to pay off. And not by much. Oracles, 3 more drones. Harstem chipping away at any lead, real or imagined, that Reynor has. Oh, here we go! Not again! Ah, this is the main advantage. Well, one of the main advantages of the gold base is you get your creep across the map. The queens are able to maneuver without severe joint pain. These oracles continually slicing away at the drone count and keeping Reynor at bay. He wants to do that sort of queen all-in, but I think he thought better of it. I think he thought, you know, this isn't the StarCraft 2 storyline where I saw a vision of Tassidar's vision, of the Overlord's vision, of Amon's vision. It's like somebody needs to go to the eye doctor here, guys. Come on. Just trust me, bro. Clearing up some of the creep, using those oracles. And does he have no Twilight? He has a Twilight with no upgrades researching. That's the more odd part here. Feigning Blink. But no Blink at all. But with the oracles, the Zerglings can't really go for this around. Harstem is playing this so smart. He has not gotten baited into some sort of crazy all-in. He's just been continually keeping track of what Reynor's up to and limiting the drone count where possible. And so far, Reynor's been scrambling. He's now got a Spire on the way, which is certainly a dramatic switch. He's not banking too much gas yet. It starts +2 melee attack. Well, the fact that there's no blank, no Phoenixes. Templar Archives is done. There are Stalkers on the field. We'll see how much Reynor's able to bank up before the Spire finishes. That is one thing that Harstem hasn't been able to scout. Setting up again. Has the Oracles to protect the base. Archons in production. The Spire is complete with 700 gas. So, Mutas, definitely a strong option. But if they don't do the damage, then Harstem will have a death ball capable of killing anything on the ground. 8 Mutas. The Oracle's starting to get a little suspicious. That's a lot of gas. That is a lot of gas. Oh, and he's building a Phoenix. Harstem knows. Harstem knows. And the Oracles burn through. He's killed 11 drones. The Zerglings get into the main. He's forced to recall. But with already Phoenixes in production, the Muta count's going to be dramatic. But Reynor does not have the drone count in order to follow this up with any sort of massive ground army. Harstem has figured it out. But can he defend the Mutas without severe losses? Yeah, he's chrono boosting out Phoenixes. He didn't, I believe he's seen them now, but as soon as he saw those gases and the lack of anything else, you can put the map together. And now, with those drone losses, it's on Reynor. There's a cannon on the way. It's not going to be quite done in time. He just goes straight for the shield battery. Few probes here. Oh, you really... He's using the battery overcharge. You really can't be losing any Phoenixes right now. Killing more probes. The Phoenix is a real danger. The best defense sometimes is just a good offense, though. Harstem is working his way across the map. The Muta's chased out. 6 probes down. But the base, he's going to lose all the drones. +2 melee attack is done, but Harstem has Archons with the army. The Muta's... Reynor's already taken a lot of damage here. Down goes a base. He already used the recall. He used the recall to defend the Zerglings. He doesn't have a recall out. But his army is beefy enough. He is committed to this fight. There's a stasis on the back line. 2 stasises. Oh, that's huge. That's... I don't think Reynor noticed it. He just happened to draw it out early. There's 1 more stasis. Harstem's trying to wait out a recall. It's another 30 seconds or so. Fighting into it. Another stasis! Oh, not quite. Not quite enough Zerglings. The first stasis is running out. He's backing off into the corner. Harstem. Who's locked in here with who, though? Reynor has enough units. Here comes some Banes. The Archons are doing a lot of damage to the Mutas. That recall that he had to use, I think, was the only thing that keeps Reynor in an okay spot here. That recall into the main, not having it for the main army. Pretty devastating. But the Zealots are holding the watchtower! Oh my. They hold the gates. A hero Zealot buying so much time. There's almost no anti-air. The Muta count down to 7, and they're not going to engage the Phoenixes. Harstem, I think, has diffused the situation. If he had that recall out, he could have consolidated and maybe gone for a game-winning assault. But instead, he's still in a good spot. But Reynor has some room to maneuver. A huge amount of Zealots heading north. Reynor will have to pull back, finally finish his Baneling speed. The Queens being assassinated 1 by 1. Oh my god. We only caught the tail end. But I think that tells the story. Zealots don't bleed. They just, like, evaporate or something. I don't know exactly what's going on there. The Mutas find an opportunity. 7, 8 more probes. Harstem can afford the losses. The Mutas will go down to the Phoenixes. See if he gets any of them. He targets probes. Kills 14 probes, which... Greater Spire on the way, 10 Corruptors. It's good. But... Harstem is in the driver's seat. As long as he doesn't sit back for too long against this hive-tech army. He's cut down on a lot of the creep. The Zealots looking for an opportunity. Archons. How many Archons? 5 Archons. The Zealots slicing up some more drones. The Banelings? Ooh. Trading for Banelings is not a bad idea for Harstem right now. The Corruptors are out. 20 drones? What? And they're still going. 23! One Zealot just going to work over here. I think the Zealot is winning the fight. Hey, he gets 2 more. It's like the cinematic. 28 drones and all those Zerglings. And Harstem for 18 Zealots. That's it. He got 28 drones, 29 Zerglings, 13 Banelings, a couple Roaches. I don't know how he got an Overseer. Oh, wait, no, that's not how it works. He killed it with his Phoenixes. That's how... I kind of forgot how that tab worked for a moment. But Harstem did not forget how Protoss works. Immortal, Archon, Phoenix. With some Templar behind. Reynor can't beat this. Barring a massive mistake here out of Harstem. That is not an army that is beatable for Reynor at the moment. That is far... The Archons themselves might be enough. And, contrary to every prediction, popular belief, and possibly the social contract here between these two, it looks like Harstem in pole position to take the series. He's backing up. He's so careful, which is sometimes a negative, but in this case, it's been paying off for him, so I can't criticize. Just backing up. Instead of trying to fight into the broods, he's like, well, I have Tempest on the way, so... 4 more Broodlords. He's going to make more Broodlords right as Harstem... I thought he would start his Tempest. Not quite yet. Really, undercut my whole dramatic conclusion there. But Reynor is bleeding out. There's no real saving grace here. He has to do unthinkable damage with the Brutes against a Protoss who already has +3 attack on the ground, Blink, Fleet Beacon, 6 bases. If Reynor can drag this another 10 minutes... But the Tempests are on the way. Oh, he spotted the Brutes. Now. Reynor limited to 4 bases here. +1 air weapons, chrono boosted. Oh, the Zealots. I'll move that guy up. Yep. Viper's on the way. Harstem is nearly maxed out. The Zealot will hold the door. Shield battery overcharge could be used as well. Warps in some Zealots to the main. Possibly hunting down the Vipers. The Phoenixes may be a little bit ahead of themselves here. But Zealots in the main. Reynor can't respond. The Zerglings are not enough. The main army is moving forward into the only viable expansion for Reynor. Here come the Brutes. Blinks underneath. Gets one. Gets the Viper. Blinding Cloud gonna help out. But it's not enough. The mineral wall is gone. There's nothing left to stop these Blink Stalkers. Blinks underneath again. He's chasing them down. The storms will drive him further back. The Zerglings coming in as well, but Harstem takes game 3. And he goes up 2-1 in the series. A beautiful game from Harstem. Just handling everything near perfectly. God. Reynor keeps giving him options. Reynor relying on his speed in order to take the win early on. But Harstem is a step ahead. He knows it, he built the Phoenixes before seeing the Mutas. He can figure it out. You got gas geysers at your 3rd? What are you doing? With nothing else. And then dismantles the army and finishes him off. Reynor asked for a break, as he's entitled to. Taking a 5-minute break. So, we'll be jumping into that. But with that, yes, I think we'll be taking a quick break as well to contemplate the situation. But yeah, Reynor says he needs a few minutes. So we're going to jump over to our very own quick break. And I think we could all use it after these games. After this, the dramatic conclusion. Harstem up 2-1 versus Reynor. Thank you for watching. We'll be right back on the other side. We are back. Reynor versus Harstem. Harstem up 2-1. Possibly an upset victory here to start things off in the knockout bracket. We're loading into game 4. On site, Delta. And we'll see if Reynor can turn it around. But Harstem in the driver's seat at the captain's wheel for this series. Jumping in. In the top left, the Dutch Pro Tour player in the blue. It is Harstem. And the sometimes Pro Tour, sometimes Zerg. This time around. Well, he said, to quote at the start of the series, not even God could make me play Protoss versus Protoss. So that wasn't really on the table here. Though Harstem would have enjoyed it. It's Reynor. Struggling. Trying 2 all-ins in a row. At least to some extent. And Harstem just kind of blocking him out, taking the advantage, and running with it. Game 1, which Reynor was able to take after about 25 minutes, was a much more drawn-out affair, where Harstem held the line, but Reynor is just too dangerous in the late game, too fast, and was a little too hard to keep up with. So even though Harstem, it felt like, was making the right moves, he just wasn't making them quick enough to be able to deal with Reynor's late-game army composition. So, if I'm Reynor in this scenario, which is optimistic in so many ways, but you want to try to drag the game out. But as a Zerg player, and Reynor has made commentary to this effect in the past, playing late game against Protoss, and I think Reynor's put his prize money where his mouth is by playing Protoss against Zerg. Playing Zerg against Protoss in the late game can be frustrating as well, despite his success with it. It feels like you're one bad fight away from continuing disaster against units that are just better than yours in many cases. Of course, I'm sure on the Protoss side of things, it oftentimes feels the same way. You look away, and suddenly you've lost your Immortals, your Archons, the Lurkers are ripping through your bases. That is a unit we haven't seen any of so far in this series. Not a single Lurker. I don't even know if we've seen a Hydra in 3 games so far. There's always an opportunity here in Game 4. Stargate. And the probe keeping track of the third. Not blocking the natural, though, this time around. Zergling speed, no more gas mining in order to maximize those minerals, get every drone, get every queen. Maybe a few more Zerglings, probably not. Gonna be Oracle first. No sort of Phoenix or Void Ray, straight into the Oracle plays. Just keep control of the situation. The Swiss Army knife of Protoss. You need a little bit of extra defense early on? You got it. You need to have something to fall back to, a stasis, revelation for constant scouting, and of course, potentially kill some drones. Well, there you go. You need a disco ball when you use the /dance command. You have it. What's not to love? First Oracle on the way. Straight across. There's no Spore at the natural. There's no Spore at all. Just relying on the queens. He's got the queens out, yep. Looks like there won't be any real damage here, unless Harstem is able to maneuver around to the mineral line. I don't think it's worth it. Yeah, that Oracle doesn't have too much in the way of shields. Forge on the way. Now, what is accompanying it? A Twilight. Because it's gonna be something. You don't just go Forge. This isn't the Silverlink. No double Stargate this time around. Just keeping tabs. And if I'm Harstem in this scenario, just make sure Reynor doesn't pull one over on you. The last 2 games have trended decisively towards Harstem when any sort of early aggression was shut down. Ooh, great micro. But taking a lot of damage on one of those Oracles. Does he have a... No, there's no queen. It doesn't go as well as he might have hoped. It actually, I don't think Harstem was quite ready for there to be no defense there. Actually ends up taking a lot of damage. Yeah, Reynor, a bit of a panic, but loses only 4 drones and bruises both oracles. I assume there's a third one out there somewhere. No, only 2. Okay. Getting his tech a little bit quicker. It's going to be charge yet again. Leaning on that charge. No blink builds this time around. +1 melee attack. Roach Warren. But Harstem... Huh? Reynor has 60 drones. Okay. Before he started to build more units, he's got 60 drones. He's not cutting for anything here. He's got the lair on the later side of things, but he's been really focused. He is going to drag this out a little further. Doesn't want to commit to some sort of all-in. That Harstem seems well-suited to defend. So we are going to the mid to late game without too much preamble here. Yeah, the Robo just now finishing. The charge lots are going to come online. Harstem has enough charge lots to be dangerous, to force a dramatic response, and here they are. But he's going to be taking a 4th base behind it. He's got the Templar archives. He's building more probes. We know, with the production tab, that this is not an all-in attack. But it's still surprisingly dangerous, because those Zealots with +1, they only take 2 hits to kill Zerglings, as opposed to the normal 3. But Harstem, taking a tour of the bases, he finds his way into the main, and a stasis could potentially... Oh, gotta be careful. And the charge lots in the main. Still more stasises. The Zealots on hold position to make sure they don't get drawn into a terrible fight. And what should have been a half-hearted attempt at touring the base. And, wow. There and back again. A charge lot story. He gets in. A bunch of stasis. He only lost 4 Zealots for that. Doesn't kill too much, but definitely... And now Reynor has to kill his own Evo chambers that he was using to block against the charge lots. Reynor thought that was all in. That was enough charge lots that Reynor was pretty convinced shenanigans were afoot. But Harstem just takes a tour, slaps a few Zerglings, takes out a couple queens, and moves on. And Reynor bouncing back in the worker count. But in terms of the tempo of the game, in terms of the timing that Reynor would usually like to be aggressive, I think Harstem just kind of took his feet out from under him there. As the Baneling nest is severely delayed. Reynor didn't start Roach speed? Baneling speed obviously can't be started until a Baneling nest is done. The only saving grace is these Zerglings are in a surprisingly good position to... He's not going to cancel the base, right? Does Harstem have no warpins? This is doing a weird amount of damage. The oracles are coming back. He warps in some Zealots. The army looking very dangerous here. The Zealots on the hatchery. He's just going to fight the queens. 9 probes here. So, damage is being dealt. Reynor finds an opportunity with those Zerglings. He's trying to get the base. And it does a lot of damage to it here. So, Reynor's counterattack will keep him going. Harstem was looking very dangerous, but killing 11 probes and essentially undercutting his attention during this Immortal Archon timing, Harstem has to back off now. Reynor strikes back. A surgical, well, not really surgical, but at least well-placed Zergling counterattack is enough to undercut Harstem's follow-up timing. Kind of doing the same thing that Harstem did to him just a couple minutes ago. Psystorm is now done. Both players tacking up. Infestation Pit. A chiropractor's office of spines here. Spire on the way. Hive tech begins. Harstem has +3 ground weapons. He's building some defensive cannons, which kind of implied at this stage of the game, but you know. He's going to have one more opportunity before Hive Tech kicks in to potentially attack. If he doesn't take that, we're going to be dealing with Broodlords, with Vipers, Adrenal Gland Zerglings. Oracle's find an opportunity, gotta burn through some Ravagers. revelation there as well. How many gates? Harstem 8 gates. Looking to add some more now. Overseer. Ooh, contaminate on +3 ground weapons. The tactical goop. In order to delay production for another 30 seconds or so. Baneling speed is done. Reynor is maxed out. Harstem not quite there yet. Building more and more gates. Another warping. Warp Prism is loaded up, and this is the timing. Now is when Harstem will be strongest and Reynor weakest for the near future, assuming we continue on this trajectory. Reynor has hive tech on the way. He's invested in a greater spire. His queens are getting caught. Adrenal glands, 1-1, but none of those things have finished yet. Shield battery overcharge, but the Adept is not enough to hold the line. The Zerglings will be getting in. Another big counterattack here, but the Templar are moving up. Harstem is focusing on the front. Zerglings are in the main, but the storms are incredible. And Harstem is bashing through the main army. The main base is starting to crumble. 14 probes. The natural under fire as well. Some banelings. Harstem is going for the heart of the swarm. More banelings. The zealots in the main eat most of the banes, and the baneling nest itself is under fire. He can take it right down. Ravagers being morphed underneath the storms. And will finish just barely in time. Does Reynor have it up at home? Harstem is gutted. He's lost 40 probes. He still has 40 left to go, but that's not going to be enough to continue this game if this army doesn't do terrible, terrible damage. 1-1 is done. Harstem is the Warp Prism dead. The Immortal Archon is tough to beat. 20 probes down. The Hive will be taken out. There should be a recall ready. Indeed, he does have it, but he's choosing to fight for now. If he's going to recall, it's now or never. He's fighting on the high ground. A decent angle, but triggers 2 barriers with a corrosive bile. The Zealot reinforcements from the back line. Warp Prism coming in. Way more Zealots on the way. Harstem, his army is looking devastating here. Adrenal Glands is done, but there's barely any Zerglings to use it. The sheer amount of charge lots. Reynor committed so much to the counterattack. He barely has anything back at home to defend. The Ravagers are trying to chip away, but the Zealots are headed towards the main. And even though he built all the tech at the natural, Harstem was able to take it out. Usually that's the safer location. But Harstem, he gives up his leg in order to swing with both arms. He lets his main and his natural be gutted, loses all the probes, but eventually cleans up the counterattack in order to focus on maintaining enough army in order to potentially punch through. And right now, Harstem has a much better army to fight with. And he chopped down the tech tree at the root. He got the Hive. He got the Bane Nest. Immortal Archon with Templar behind. There is a Stalker. There's still some units at home. Are the Oracles? The Oracles died somewhere throughout this. Is there is still a greater spire in the main base. A recall of the Prism and an Archon. An interesting choice there, but another base. And Harstem closing in. 5 desperate Broodlords. 14 more probes died. Harstem down to 39, but Reynor's drone count about to be not too far off that, if less. Another round of Zerglings, but microwing Zerglings against this sort of army. The Brood's on the way to try to save it. But 3 Broodlords is not a particularly scary number. Trying to chase things down. +2 melee for the Broodlings. No attack upgrades for the Broodlords themselves. This base is cancelled. The Ravagers on the other side. Looking to intercept. The Broodlords will drive it back. But Harstem has taken the supply lead. He has the workers. He has the army composition. Oof. The Broodlords are the only thing that stand between Reynor and disaster. Blink is done, correct? Yes. Blink M +3. Harstem consolidating. Reynor picks off a few more probes, but the Queen's marching out. It's not good. Not good for the Italian stallion here. He knows the danger this late-game Protoss army poses. But he's pretty much out of options. There are Templar in that prism. Quite a valuable... Oh, the storms! Ah, the drones! Oh, well, honestly not... I think he's going to need to drop out of that. Losing 3 Templar would be kind of a big deal. Not sure what happened down here. But the supplies tell the story. Look at them! The Roach Ravager. More broods on the way. Reynor has 45 drones. Harstem's about to remax. Harstem's made all the right calls here. Drones. There aren't that many to go around, and they just keep running around the map. A handful of charge lots. There is no fleet beacon. That is possibly the only saving grace here. Without a fleet beacon, there is no air-based response to the Broodlords, but there are so many Stalkers. There's Templar. There's Archons. 9 Broodlords against 29, plus 3 attack Stalkers. Optimism. I mean, there are a few Queens underneath. What else can he do? Couple Infestors on the way. Doesn't even have a lair. Oh my god. That Warp Prism still has 2 Templar. The Zealots... 200 supply for Harstem. He starts a fleet beacon. There's nothing left to do but attack. There's no reason to wait and let Reynor try to sneak back into it now. Oh, the Templar Prism. Ooh, small victory. Reynor might not even know how much of a victory it was. 2 Broodlords. The Infestor. The Fungal's painful, but another Brood. He just keeps targeting him. One shot, you can't transfuse it if it's dead before you get the opportunity. Feedbacks across the board. Harstem blinks back in. Corrosive Biles attempted. 10 probes died. I think a Baneling attack. Double Stargate. 3 in total. Harstem... Now, Harstem doesn't have our perspective. He doesn't know how far ahead he is. Or he might, but there's no reason to risk it. The worst... So, giving Reynor the benefit of the doubt, there could be 3 or 4 more Infestors with Fungal. 1 less now. And if he blinks in, he could risk losing his ground army and giving Reynor a lot more space to rebuild. I'm sure Harstem knows how well he's doing, but he can't be 100% sure. He doesn't have an Oracle in order to continually tag the Broods. So I imagine that's why he is so hesitant to do so. Engage them. +3, +1. He's got the ability to clear the creep now. Banelings. Nerfed. +2. Not enough to devastate the entire mineral lot. The Broodlings raining down. But the Stalker count is so damn high. The base take it out. Zergling counterattack. Actually doing a great job here. Kills some more probes. Might get the Nexus, somewhat awkwardly. Looking for more. There's Archons in the main. Oh no. Going for the pylon here. Not quite finding the angle. But he's on top of the Broodlords. Looks in. Targets down. Where are the rest of the Templar? There are a few more underneath. Looks like no more storms. Harstem! Harstem! Uh-oh. Oh, this is, he's lost 30 probes. Almost all the drones died. Reynor's back to the drone count he started with, so that's certainly not ideal. But that is a I think, a pretty decent demonstration of why he avoided such activities before. I think the lead that he's had will carry him through, but this is certainly a lot closer than we expected it to be. He lost the Greater Spire. What tech buildings are left? He has a Roach Warren and a spawning pool, which this is the 20-minute mark, not the 5-minute mark, so that is certainly not ideal. Those are changelings. But Reynor, how many broods? 5 broodlords. Harstem has to rebuild a surprising amount of probes here. Mass Ravager. He still has a Templar Archives. He still has the Fleet Beacon. Reynor's at 16 probes. So, no, wait. Reynor has no probes, actually. 16 drones. It's desperate. Sending gateway units around, just checking for bases. The queen's underneath. Harstem hasn't built any Tempest yet in order to try to deal with it. A mothership would actually be a game-winning choice as well, as there's only one overseer and no lairs, so gets another brood. The Ravagers. Here are the Templar. It's time. Picks off one. Counterattack still. Transfuses. Doesn't get a full volley on the broods. Big storms here. Broodlord's wandering maybe a bit forward. It looks like 6 more drones died. He's down to 9 drones. He's done it. It's not great. That's not the ideal late game number. Usually you want a few more than that. Queens are melting. Harstem. It's been an arduous process. Maybe a bit too arduous, but at the end of the day, Reynor is fighting against the storm. And coming up short. The Blink Stalkers. Another one. Down to 1 Broodlord. The base. The Ravagers. Another storm. Harstem pulls back. Okay, Harstem. Reynor. A pale shadow of what we once saw for his army. The Broodlord, still not dead. And while the Broodlord lives, the game will continue. 1 half-health Broodlord, like 6 Ravagers, and a dream. All right, it's dead. A single carrier in production. Zergling counter. A completely undefended mineral line is actually... Wow, the Zerglings are going to kill a lot of probes. But there's just nothing left. He just doesn't have any units. His army is 5 Ravagers. GG! WP! Harstem! 3.